I wasn't supposed to sit in the back. No one told me that directly. But when I walked into the lawyer's office and saw the chairs arranged in 2 neat rows, front row for family, back row for whoever else, I understood immediately. My stepbrother Marcus was already seated. Front row, center. His wife Diane beside him, scrolling through her phone. My father sat at the end, hands folded, looking at nothing in particular. The way he always looked when he wanted you to know he was thinking important thoughts. I stood there for a moment, waiting. No one turned around. "You can sit anywhere," the lawyer said, glancing up from his papers. His tone was kind. Pitying, maybe. I sat in the second row, directly behind my father, close enough to hear everything, far enough to understand exactly where I stood. The office smelled like old books and lemon polish. There was a painting on the wall, some fox hunt scene, all red coats and dogs. I stared at it while we waited. Diane whispered something to Marcus. He nodded. My father shifted in his chair, but didn't look back. It had been 3 weeks since Eleanor died. Eleanor, not grandmother, not Nana. Just Eleanor, because that's what she'd asked me to call her when I was 7 years old. "Grandmother makes me sound ancient," she'd said. "And you're too smart for baby names." She was my father's stepmother, had raised him from age 6 after his mother left. But he never softened toward her, never called her Mom. I think that disappointed her more than she ever said. The door opened and the lawyer, Mr. Garrison, I remembered now, returned with a folder. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40. Tired eyes. "Thank you all for coming," he said. "I know this has been a difficult time." Diane put her phone away. Marcus sat up straighter. My father didn't move. "Eleanor's will is straightforward in most respects," Garrison continued. "But there are specific instructions she wanted followed precisely." He adjusted his glasses. "The estate consists primarily of the house at 847 Lakewood Drive, valued at approximately $1.2 million. There are also liquid assets totaling roughly $340,000, various personal effects, and a trust fund that's been managed separately." I knew the house. Everyone knew the house. 3 stories, wraparound porch, sitting on 2 acres overlooking the lake. Eleanor had lived there for 43 years. My grandfather bought it for her before he died. "The liquid assets," Garrison said, "are to be divided equally between." "The house," my father interrupted. His voice was calm.
"Certain."
"The house stays in the family." Garrison paused. "Mr. Brennan, if I could just—" "I'm not disputing anything," my father said.
"I'm clarifying."
"That house has been in this family for 2 generations. Whatever Eleanor's wishes were, I'm sure she understood that it needs to stay with someone who can maintain it properly, who understands its value." He said value like he was talking about more than money. Marcus cleared his throat. "Dad and I have already discussed options. We think the most sensible thing is to sell it and split the proceeds. The market's strong right now. We could probably get $1.3 million, maybe more." "That house is worth more than its sale price," my father said. "Sentimentally, sure," Marcus replied. "But none of us can actually live there. The property taxes alone." "I'm not talking about sentiment." They kept going, back and forth. Garrison tried twice to interrupt. I watched the fox hunt painting and wondered if Eleanor had chosen it or if it came with the office. "If I may," Garrison finally said, loud enough that both of them stopped. "The house is not part of the negotiation." Silence. Eleanor was very specific about the property at 847 Lakewood Drive. "It has been left, in its entirety, to—" he looked at me, "to Miss Caroline Brennan, along with full discretionary control and a provision that prevents any challenge to the inheritance for a period of 5 years, after which the property may be transferred only with her explicit written consent." I stopped breathing. Marcus turned around first, then Diane. My father sat completely still. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "Caroline? You mean—" "Miss Brennan," he nodded. "The house is yours, Miss Brennan. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I could drive. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "We need to talk." Not "Are you okay?" Not "That was a surprise." We need to talk. I put the phone face down on the passenger seat. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink, the kind of sunset people take pictures of. I watched it through my windshield and tried to understand what had just happened. Eleanor had left me her house. Eleanor had left me everything. I thought about Thursday afternoons. The way she'd make tea, always in the blue pot, never the white one. The way she'd ask about my week and actually listen to the answer. The way she'd pause sometimes mid-sentence and look out the window at the lake. I used to think this place would outlive me, she'd said once. Now I'm not so sure. You're not that old, I told her. She'd smiled. I'm not talking about age, sweetheart. I didn't understand what she meant then. I was starting to understand now. I didn't go home. I drove to the house instead. 847 Lakewood Drive. I had a key. Eleanor had given it to me years ago, in case of emergency. I'd used it twice. Once when she'd fallen and called me instead of 911. Once when I'd stopped by and she wasn't answering the door because she'd fallen asleep in the garden. The driveway was gravel. It crunched under my tires. I parked and sat for a moment, looking at the house. 3 stories. Wraparound porch. The paint was fresh, white with blue trim. Eleanor had hired someone to repaint it last summer. Can't let things fall apart just because I'm old, she'd said. I got out of the car. The porch steps creaked. They always creaked. Eleanor said she liked it that way. Better than a doorbell, she'd said. I always know when someone's coming. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The house smelled like lavender and old wood. Eleanor's scent. Her presence. I closed the door behind me and stood in the entryway, listening to the silence.
This was mine now.
All of it. I walked through the first floor slowly. Living room with the piano no one played anymore. Dining room with the table that sat 12. Kitchen with the blue teapot still on the counter. I picked up the teapot, held it, put it back down. In the living room, there was a photo on the mantel. Eleanor and my grandfather, maybe 30 years ago. They were standing in front of this house, smiling. Behind them, you could see the lake. I'd seen this photo 100 times. But standing here now, alone, it felt different. Eleanor had chosen me. Out of everyone who shared her last name, everyone who showed up to the funeral, everyone who called themselves family, she'd chosen me. Not because I was blood. Not because I was perfect. But because I'd shown up. Every Thursday. For 6 years. I sat down on the couch and cried. My phone rang at 9 p.m. I was still in the house. Still sitting on the couch. I'd turned on one lamp. Everything else was dark. The caller ID said Dad. I let it ring. It stopped. Then started again immediately. I answered. Hello. Where are you? His voice was tight. Controlled. At the house. Silence. Then, I'm coming over. Dad. We need to talk, Caroline. This is important. It's late. It's important, he repeated. I closed my eyes.
Fine.
But I'm not discussing the will. I'm not asking you to give up anything, he said. I just want to talk. Father to daughter. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the dark window. 20 minutes later, headlights swept across the wall. A car door slammed. Footsteps on the gravel. I opened the door before he could knock. My father stood on the porch. He'd changed clothes since the lawyer's office.
Jeans.
A sweater. Like he was trying to look casual. Approachable. Can I come in? He asked. I stepped aside. He walked past me into the entryway, looking around like he was cataloging everything. I closed the door. When's the last time you were here? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. He was looking at the living room, the photos on the mantel. It's been a while, he said finally. 3 years. Christmas. You stayed for an hour.
He turned to look at me.
You keeping track? Eleanor mentioned it.
His jaw tightened.
I'm sure she did. We stood there in the entryway. I didn't offer him tea. Didn't suggest we sit down. I wanted this conversation to be short. I'm not angry, he said. Okay. I'm not. Eleanor had every right to leave her property to whoever she wanted. I'm glad we agree. But Caroline? He rubbed his face. Suddenly, he looked tired. Older. You have to understand how this looks. How does it look? Like you manipulated an old woman. The words hung in the air between us. That's not what happened, I said. I know that. You know that. But Marcus doesn't. Diane doesn't. And when people in town hear about this. Why would people in town hear about it? Because this is a small community, he said. People talk. And when they find out that Eleanor's granddaughter, a 28-year-old woman with no children, no husband, no stable career, inherited a property worth over $1 million. He paused. They're going to have questions. Let them have questions. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From yourself.
He said it gently.
Like he was explaining something to a child. Caroline, you don't understand what you're taking on here. This house, the property taxes alone are $18,000 a year. Then there's insurance, maintenance, utilities. You're going to burn through whatever savings you have in 6 months. Eleanor left me money too, the liquid assets. Split between all the grandchildren. You'll get maybe $80,000 after taxes. That's not enough. I cross my arms. What do you want me to do? Sell the house?
No.
Hear me out.
No.
Caroline. He took a step closer. You sell the house, split the proceeds with Marcus and me, fairly, not equally, but fairly, and you'll walk away with probably $300,000. Maybe more. That's real money. That's enough to buy yourself a condo, invest in your future, actually build something. I don't want a condo. Then what do you want? I looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man who'd raised me but never quite seemed comfortable with it. Who'd remarried when I was 12 and slowly shifted his attention to his new family. Who'd never visited Eleanor unless he needed something. I want to keep the house, I said. Why? Because Eleanor wanted me to have it. Eleanor was old and sentimental. She wasn't thinking clearly. She was thinking perfectly clearly. Caroline. She wrote that letter, Dad. She knew exactly what she was doing. He stared at me. Then he laughed, short, humorless. You really think this is about love? He asked. You think she left you the house because she cared about you? Yes. She left you the house to hurt me. I blinked. What? This is Eleanor's final revenge, he said. For every perceived slight, every missed visit, every time I called her Eleanor instead of Mom. She's been holding on to that resentment for 40 years, and this. He gestured around the house. This is her way of getting the last word. That's not. You were her weapon, Caroline. Don't you see that? She used you. She knew leaving everything to you would cause exactly this kind of chaos in the family. And now you're standing here defending her, because you think she loved you. My chest felt tight. She did love me. Maybe. But she hated me more. We stood there in silence. Outside, the wind picked up. I could hear it rattling the windows. Sell the house, my father said quietly. Walk away with your dignity and some money. Let this be over.
No.
Caroline, get out. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. I'm trying to help you, he said. No, you're not. You're trying to fix your own hurt feelings. You're trying to prove that you were right about Eleanor all along. I opened the door. Get out of my house. Your house, he repeated. You've had it for 6 hours and already it's your house. Yes. He walked to the door.
Stopped.
Turned back. You're making a mistake, he said. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. He left without another word. I closed the door and locked it. Then I sat down on the floor in the entryway and let myself shake. I stayed in that house until midnight. I didn't turn on more lights. Didn't make tea. I just sat there in the dark, listening to the silence and wondering what the hell I'd just gotten myself into. If you've ever inherited something, not just money or property, but the weight of someone else's choices, someone else's pain, you know what I'm talking about. That feeling of suddenly holding something too big, too important, too complicated. I'd love to hear about it. Really. Comment below if you've been there. Because right then, sitting on Eleanor's floor, I felt completely alone. And I had no idea that this was just the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I drove home around 1 a.m., crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling until my alarm went off. My apartment felt smaller than usual.
Darker.
Like it knew I didn't really belong there anymore. I called in sick to work. First time in 2 years. Then, I called the only person I thought might understand.
Jesus Christ, Caroline.
That was the first thing my friend Maya said when I told her. We were sitting in her kitchen. She'd made coffee strong, the way I needed it. Her daughter was at preschool. Her husband was at work. It was just us. Eleanor left you the whole house, she said again. Like saying it out loud would make it make sense. The whole thing. The whole thing. And your dad's pissed. That's an understatement. Maya leaned back in her chair, cupping her mug with both hands. What are you going to do? I don't know. Are you going to keep it? I think so.
Yes.
I don't know. That's 3 different answers. I know. She studied me. Maya and I had been friends since college. She'd been there when my dad remarried. When I'd had to move out at 18 because his new wife needed my room for her office. When I'd cried in a Denny's parking lot at 2 a.m. because I felt like I didn't have a family anymore. She'd also been there when I started visiting Eleanor. When I'd come back from those Thursday afternoons calmer, lighter. Do you want to keep it? She asked. Yes. Then keep it. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I stopped. Tried to find the words. Because everyone thinks I manipulated her. Because my family hates me now. Because I don't know if I can afford it. Because maybe my dad's right and Eleanor did this just to hurt him, and I'm caught in the middle of something that has nothing to do with me. Maya was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you what I think? She asked. Please. I think you're scared. And I think you have every right to be scared. This is huge. It's complicated. Your family's being shitty about it. She set down her mug. But Eleanor knew what she was doing. She was sharp, Caroline. Until the very end. And she chose you. That's what everyone keeps saying. Because it's true. What if it's not enough? What if it is? I didn't have an answer for that. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Text from Marcus.
We need to talk.
Can you meet me for lunch? I showed it to Maya. Don't go, she said immediately. I have to. No, you don't. He's my brother. Stepbrother. And he walked out of that lawyer's office like you'd stolen something from him. Maybe I should hear what he has to say. Maya shook her head. You're too nice. You know that? You're always giving people chances they don't deserve. He deserves a chance to. To what? Convince you to give up something that's legally yours? To make you feel guilty for being a decent human being to an old woman. She leaned forward. Caroline, listen to me. Your family is going to come at you hard. Your dad already started. Marcus is next. Then it'll be Diane and whoever else they can recruit. They're going to make you doubt yourself. Make you think you don't deserve this. Maybe I don't. Stop. Stop doing that. Her voice was sharp now. You visited Eleanor every single week for 6 years. You sat with her. You listened to her stories. You helped her when she needed it. You didn't do it for money. You didn't do it for inheritance. You did it because you cared. That's why she left you the house. Not to hurt your dad. Not to start drama. But because you earned it. My throat felt tight. I'm scared, I said quietly. I know. What if I can't do this? Then you'll figure it out. But you don't figure it out by giving up before you've even started. She reached across the table and took my hand. Meet with Marcus if you want. But don't go in there thinking you owe him anything. You don't. I met Marcus at a restaurant downtown. Neutral territory. He was already seated when I arrived. Corner booth. He'd ordered coffee for both of us. Thanks for coming, he said as I slid into the seat across from him.
Sure.
He looked tired, older than 34. There were lines around his eyes I hadn't noticed before. I'm sorry about yesterday, he said. I shouldn't have reacted that way.
It was a shock.
For all of us. Yeah. He stirred his coffee. Didn't drink it. Diane's pretty upset. I'm sure. She was close with Eleanor too, you know. She visited. Not as often as you, maybe, but... Marcus, what do you want? He looked up at me. For a second, something flickered across his face. Hurt, maybe. Or surprise. I want to fix this, he said. Fix what? This situation. The family. He leaned forward. Look, Caroline, I know you think I'm just angry about the money. And yeah, okay, it stings. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But that's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Dad. I waited. He's devastated, Marcus said. He won't say it, but he is. Eleanor was the only mother he ever really had, even if he couldn't admit it. And now she's gone, and her last act was basically telling him he wasn't good enough. That hurts him.
Deeply.
I didn't make her write that letter. I know, but you're the one holding the result of it. He paused. You could fix this, Caroline. You could make this right.
How?
Sell the house. Split the proceeds. Show Dad that you're not choosing Eleanor's resentment over family unity. There it was. It's not about Eleanor's resentment, I said. Isn't it? That letter was brutal. She went out of her way to point out every time Dad failed her. Every missed visit. Every truth, I interrupted. She pointed out every truth. Marcus sat back. You really think Dad's the villain here? I think he wasn't there, and I think that mattered. He had a career, responsibilities. He couldn't just drop everything to have tea parties every Thursday. I had a job too, Marcus. I still made time. You're younger. You don't have kids. It's different. Is it? We sat in silence. The restaurant was filling up. Lunch rush. People ordering sandwiches and salads, talking about normal things. No one was arguing about inheritance, about family, about whether love could be measured in Thursday visits. I'm not selling the house, I said finally. Marcus closed his eyes. Caroline, I'm not, and I need you to respect that. Do you have any idea what you're taking on?
His voice was tight now.
Frustrated. That house needs constant work. The roof is 15 years old. The furnace is older than you are. You're going to spend every penny you have just keeping it standing. Then I'll figure it out. With what money? I have savings. How much? I didn't answer. That's what I thought. He leaned forward again. Caroline, I'm trying to help you. You're in over your head. You're going to drown, and when you do, you're going to lose everything, the house, your savings, probably your job, because you'll be so stressed you can't function. And for what? To prove a point? To honor Eleanor's wishes?
She's dead.
She doesn't care anymore.
Y care. Why?
What is it about this house that's worth destroying your life over? I looked at him. Really looked at him. At my stepbrother, who used to let me tag along when he hung out with his friends. Who'd taught me how to ride a bike. Who'd slowly, quietly drifted away after his dad married my mom, and then after he married Diane, and then after his own life got big enough that there wasn't room for a stepsister who reminded him of complicated things. It's not about the house, I said quietly. Then what? It's about being chosen. He stared at me. My whole life, I continued. I've been an afterthought. Dad remarried, and I became the kid from the first marriage. You got busy, and I became the sister you saw at Christmas. Even Mom. I stopped. Swallowed. Everyone moved on. Everyone found their real families. And I was just there, orbiting, never quite close enough to matter. Caroline.
Eleanor chose me, Marcus. She saw me.
She wanted me there. And I'm not giving that up just because it makes everyone else uncomfortable. Silence. The waiter came by, asked if we wanted to order food. Marcus waved him away. You're being selfish, he said finally. Maybe. You're tearing this family apart. The family was already apart. You just didn't notice because it didn't affect you. He stood up, threw a 20 on the table for the coffee. I tried, he said. I really tried to do this the easy way. But you're too stubborn. Too. He shook his head. Fine. Keep the house. But don't come crying to me when everything falls apart. He left. I sat there with my untouched coffee and watched through the window as he got into his car and drove away. My hands were shaking. The rumors started 3 days later. I heard about them from Maya first. She'd run into someone at the grocery store, a woman from my father's church. The woman had asked, with false sweetness, whether it was true that I'd convinced Eleanor to cut out her real family. Then my coworker mentioned it. She'd heard from her sister, who'd heard from someone else, that there was drama about Eleanor's estate. "Isn't that your family?" she'd asked. By the end of the week, my phone was full of texts from people I hadn't talked to in years. Concerned messages. Curious questions. A few that were just mean. "Heard you hit the jackpot. Must be nice. Your dad must be so proud." That's sarcasm, by the way. "Did you really take advantage of an old lady?" That's cold. I stopped reading them. But I couldn't stop the whispers at the grocery store, the looks at the coffee shop, the way conversations would pause when I walked into a room. Small town. People talk. I started staying home. 2 weeks after the will reading, I got a call from Mr. Garrison. "Miss Brennan, we have a situation." I was in my apartment, eating cereal for dinner, watching a show I wasn't paying attention to. "What kind of situation?" "Your father has filed a formal challenge to the will. He's claiming that Eleanor was not of sound mind when she executed the document, and that there's evidence of undue influence." I put down the cereal bowl. "Undue influence," I repeated. "He's arguing that your frequent visits and close relationship with Eleanor constituted a pattern of manipulation designed to secure the inheritance." That's insane. Nevertheless, it's a legal claim. We'll need to respond. I've already prepared preliminary documents, but I'll need you to come in and go over everything. Bring any documentation of your relationship with Eleanor, emails, texts, photos, anything that demonstrates the nature of your visits. They were just visits. We had tea. We talked. There's no... "I believe you, Miss Brennan, but we need to prove it. Can you come in tomorrow?" "Yes."
Good.
10 a.m. "And Caroline?" He paused. "Don't speak to your father or Marcus about this. Don't respond to any messages from them. All communication goes through me now." "Okay." "This isn't going to be easy," he said, "but the will is solid. Eleanor was evaluated by her doctor 2 weeks before she died. He confirmed she was fully competent. We'll get through this." He hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the paused TV screen.
My father was suing me.
My own father, for doing nothing but showing up. Maya drove me to Garrison's office the next morning. "You okay?" she asked as we pulled into the parking lot.
No.
"Want me to come in with you?" "I'll be fine." "Caroline." I looked at her. "You don't have to do this alone," she said. "I know."
Do you?
"Because you have this thing where you think asking for help is a weakness. And right now, you need help." "I'll be fine," I said again. She didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Call me when you're done." Garrison's office felt different this time. Colder. More serious. He had papers spread across his desk. Documents. Highlighted sections. Post-it notes. "Coffee," he offered. "Please." He poured 2 cups from a machine in the corner. Handed me one. We sat. "Your father's claim is based on 3 arguments," he said. "First, that Eleanor was mentally incompetent at the time she executed the will. Second, that you exercised undue influence over her through frequent visits and emotional manipulation. Third, that the will itself is so grossly unfair to the other beneficiaries that it demonstrates a lack of rational thinking on Eleanor's part. She was evaluated by her doctor." "I know. Dr. Morrison. I've already spoken with him. He's prepared to testify that Eleanor was fully competent, sharp, in fact. Clearer than many people half her age." "Then how can my father claim?" "Because he's hiring his own expert. A psychiatrist who will review Eleanor's medical records and provide an opinion that she was suffering from cognitive decline." "Based on what?" "Based on the fact that she made a decision your father disagrees with." I set down my coffee. "That's absurd." "It's also fairly common in estate disputes. Families fight. This is how they fight." "He's my father." Garrison looked at me over his glasses. "I know this is hard, but you need to understand what you're up against. Your father has resources. He has Marcus backing him. They're going to make this as difficult as possible because they believe you don't deserve the inheritance, and they want to pressure you into settling. What kind of settlement? Probably selling the house and splitting the proceeds. Maybe with you getting a slightly larger share to compensate for the legal costs. They'll frame it as fair and keeping the family together. I'm not doing that. Then we go to court. The words hung there. How long will it take? I asked. 6 months minimum. Could be longer. And during that time, the house is legally yours. You can live in it, maintain it, whatever you want, but you can't sell it or make any major changes until the challenge is resolved. What if I can't afford to maintain it? Then it falls into disrepair, which strengthens their argument that you're not capable of being a responsible steward of the property. I laughed. It came out bitter. So they're going to drag this out until I run out of money, and then use my financial problems as proof that I shouldn't have inherited it in the first place. That's the strategy. And there's nothing I can do. You fight back. You document everything. You prove that Eleanor knew exactly what she was doing. He pulled out a legal pad. Tell me about your visits. What did you talk about? What did you do? Did Eleanor ever express concerns about the family? I spent the next hour going through everything. Every Thursday. Every conversation. Every cup of tea. From the blue pot. Eleanor talking about her garden. Her book club. Her concerns about the house. She worried about it sometimes, I said. About who would take care of it after she was gone. Did she say why? She said houses need people who love them, not people who see them as assets. Garrison wrote that down. Did she ever discuss the will with you directly?
No.
Never. Did she ever ask you what you thought she should do with the house?
No.
Did you ever suggest that she leave it to you?
God, no.
I would never. I know, but I need to hear you say it. For the record. I took a breath. I never asked Eleanor for anything. I visited her because I wanted to.
Because she was kind to me.
Because those Thursdays were. My voice cracked. They were the best part of my week. He set down his pen. Miss Brennan, I need you to be prepared for how nasty this might get. They're going to dig into your relationship with Eleanor. They're going to question your motives. They might bring up your financial situation, your job history, your personal life. Anything they think will make you look opportunistic. I'm not opportunistic. I know. But they're going to try to make it look that way. And you need to stay calm. Stay consistent. Don't let them rattle you. What if I can't? Then we lose. That night, I drove to the house. I let myself in, turned on the lights, stood in the entryway, and tried to feel like I belonged here. It didn't work. The house felt empty. Too big. Like it was waiting for someone who knew what to do with it. I walked through the rooms. Living room. Dining room.
Kitchen.
On the counter, the blue teapot was still there. I picked it up.
Held it.
Eleanor had poured from this pot every Thursday for 6 years. I filled it with water.
Put it on the stove.
Found her tea, Earl Grey, always Earl Grey, and made myself a cup. Then I sat at the kitchen table and cried. Not because I was scared, not because I was angry, but because I missed her. I missed Eleanor. I missed her voice, her laugh, the way she'd tilt her head when she was thinking, the way she'd say my name, Caroline, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And now she was gone, and I was here, alone, holding on to a house and a battle and a choice I wasn't sure I was strong enough to make. My phone buzzed. Text from my father. This doesn't have to be ugly. We can still fix this.
Call me. I stared at it for a long time.
Then I blocked his number. The next morning, I woke up to someone pounding on my apartment door. I stumbled out of bed.
Checked the time. 7:15 a.m. Through the peephole I saw Diane.
I opened the door.
We need to talk, she said.
She didn't wait for an invitation. She pushed past me into the apartment. She was dressed like she'd come from the gym. Yoga pants, zip-up jacket, hair in a ponytail. Diane, what? Do you have any idea what you're doing to this family? I closed the door. It's 7 a.m. Marcus isn't sleeping. Your father's having chest pains. And you're sitting here like nothing's wrong. I'm not sitting here like... You're destroying everything. Her voice was shaking. Angry. Marcus worked his whole life to have a good relationship with your dad. He built a career. A family. He did everything right. And now you swoop in with your sad little tea parties and steal everything out from under him. I didn't steal anything. You manipulated an old woman. I cared about her.
No.
Diane stepped closer. You saw an opportunity. You saw a lonely old woman with money and property and no one paying attention, and you decided to play the devoted granddaughter. You're a con artist, Caroline. A really good one. But I see you. My heart was pounding. Get out. Not until you fix this. There's nothing to fix. Sell the house. Give Marcus what he deserves. Make this right.
No.
Then I hope you're ready for what comes next. Is that a threat? It's a promise. She headed for the door.
Stopped.
Turned back. You know what's sad? I actually liked you. Before all this. I thought you were sweet. A little lost, maybe, but sweet. She shook her head. I was wrong. You're just selfish. She left. I stood there in my pajamas, shaking, as the door clicked shut. Then I sat down on the floor and called Maya. She came to my apartment. I said when Maya answered.
What? Who?
Diane. She. My voice broke. She said I'm a con artist. She said I manipulated Eleanor. She said. Caroline, breathe. I tried.
Failed.
Started crying instead. I can't do this, I said. Maya, I can't. They're going to destroy me. They're going to make everyone believe I'm this terrible person who... Stop. Stop it. Maya's voice was firm. Listen to me. You are not a con artist. You did not manipulate anyone. You loved an old woman who loved you back. That's it. That's the whole story. No one believes that. I believe it. Garrison believes it. Eleanor believed it. That's enough. It doesn't feel like enough. I know. But you don't get to give up.
Not now.
Not after everything. I wiped my eyes. I'm so tired. I know, honey. But you're strong. Stronger than you think. And you're going to get through this. What if I don't? Then I'll be there to pick up the pieces. But you will. I know you will. We stayed on the phone for another 20 minutes. Just breathing.
Just being.
When we hung up, I made coffee.
Got dressed.
Drove to work. Pretended everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. And I was starting to understand that it might never be fine again. That week was the hardest week of my life. Every day felt like drowning. People whispered. My phone buzzed with messages I didn't want to read. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. in a panic, convinced I'd made a terrible mistake. But I kept going. Because what else do you do when you're holding something precious and everyone's trying to take it away? You hold on tighter. If you've ever had to fight for something you knew was right even when everyone said you were wrong, drop a comment. Tell me how you got through it. Because I'm about to tell you what happened next. And it's not what you think. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. 6 weeks of waiting. 6 weeks of every day feeling like a test I hadn't studied for. Garrison told me not to worry. We have everything we need, he said. Dr. Morrison's testimony. The letter. Documentation of your visits. They don't have a case. But they had something better than a case. They had a story. The story spread through town like wildfire. Poor elderly woman, isolated and lonely. Young woman befriends her, week after week. Slowly, carefully, plants ideas. Your family doesn't appreciate you. They only care about money. I'm the only one who really cares. Classic manipulation. By the time the old woman dies, she's rewritten her entire will. Cut out her real family. Left everything to the manipulator. It was a good story. Clean. Simple. Easy to believe. Easier than the truth. The truth was messy. The truth was that Eleanor had watched her stepson drift away for 40 years. Had called him on birthdays and gotten voicemails. Had invited him to dinner and gotten excuses. Had loved him anyway, fiercely, desperately. Even though he couldn't love her back the same way. The truth was that I'd visited Eleanor because she reminded me of what family was supposed to feel like. But truth doesn't fit on a bumper sticker. The story did. 3 weeks before the court date, I got a call from someone I didn't expect. Caroline? It's Aunt Judith, Eleanor's sister, 82 years old. I'd met her a handful of times over the years, at holidays, at Eleanor's birthday parties. She lived 2 hours away and didn't drive anymore. Aunt Judith. I heard about the lawsuit. Yeah. David's being an ass. I almost laughed. Almost. He's upset, I said carefully. He's being an ass, she repeated. Always has been. Even as a boy. Eleanor used to make excuses for him.
He's hurting, she'd say.
He's still grieving his mother. But there comes a point when grief becomes selfishness, and David crossed that line 30 years ago. I didn't know what to say. I'm calling because I want to testify, Judith continued. At the hearing, I want to tell them what Eleanor told me. My heart jumped. What did she tell you?
About you.
About the house. About why she was leaving it to you. There was a pause. She called me 2 months before she died. We talked for over an hour. She said she'd made her decision, and she was at peace with it. She said you were the only one who ever made her feel like she mattered for herself, not for what she could provide. Aunt Judith. She also said she knew David would fight it. She knew there'd be trouble. But she said you were strong enough to handle it. Another pause. Was she right? I closed my eyes. I don't know. Well, I think she was. And I'm going to make sure that Judge knows what Eleanor really wanted. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me yet. I'm old and I ramble. I might not be a great witness. You're perfect. She laughed, raspy, warm. You sound just like Eleanor when you say things like that. She always believed in people more than they believed in themselves. After we hung up, I sat in my car in the work parking lot and cried for the 3rd time that week. But this time, they weren't sad tears. 2 weeks before the hearing, Marcus showed up at my apartment again. This time, I didn't let him in. We stood in the hallway. He looked worse than I'd ever seen him. Unshaven, rumpled shirt, dark circles under his eyes. Caroline, please. 5 minutes.
No.
I'm not here to fight. He ran his hand through his hair. I need you to understand something. Understand what? Dad's not well. I waited. He's having panic attacks. He can't sleep. His doctor put him on medication. Marcus's voice was strained. This is killing him, Caroline. Actually killing him. And I don't know how to fix it. That's not my fault. Isn't it?
No.
It's not. I kept my voice steady. I didn't start this lawsuit. I didn't spread rumors. I didn't show up at anyone's door and call them a con artist. All I did was accept what Eleanor chose to give me. But you could end it. You could sell the house, split the money, and all of this would be over. And then what? Your dad would be happy? We'd all be a big, happy family again. Maybe. Marcus, we were never a big, happy family. Not really. You know that. He looked away. Down the hallway. At the wall. Anywhere but at me. I remember when my dad married your mom, he said quietly. I was 12. I thought it was going to be great. Like the Brady Bunch or something. 2 families coming together. But it wasn't like that. It was complicated. Yeah. I tried, I tried to be a good brother.
For a while.
What's that supposed to mean? It means you tried until it got hard. Until your dad had expectations and your mom had opinions, and it was easier to just focus on your own life. I crossed my arms. I'm not angry about it. I get it. But don't stand here and pretend we were close, because we weren't. We could have been. But we weren't. Silence. Dad's going to win this case, Marcus said finally. His lawyer thinks the undue influence claim is solid. They have witnesses who'll testify that you isolated Eleanor from the family. That's a lie. Is it? When's the last time Dad saw Eleanor? Really saw her, not just a quick visit at Christmas. That wasn't my fault.
No.
But you benefited from it. The words hung in the air between us.
You need to leave, I said.
Caroline.
Now.
Before I call the police and tell them you're harassing me.
He stared at me.
Then he nodded slowly. Okay.
Fine.
But when you lose, and you will lose, don't say I didn't try to help you.
He left.
I went inside and locked the door. Then I called Garrison. Marcus just came to my apartment. He said they have witnesses. What kind of witnesses? People who'll say I isolated Eleanor from the family. Garrison was quiet for a moment. Do you know who?
No.
It doesn't matter. We have stronger testimony. Dr. Morrison. And Judith. And we have something else.
What?
Eleanor recorded a video. 2 weeks before she died. She knew your father would challenge the will, so she made a video statement explaining her decision. I've been holding it as our final piece of evidence. I sat down. A video? 15 minutes long. Very clear. Very specific. She talks about her relationship with each member of the family. Why she made the choices she made. It's devastating, Caroline. For your father's case, I mean. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I wanted to see if we'd need it. Video testimony from beyond the grave. It's powerful, but it's also painful. For everyone involved. I was hoping we could settle before it came to that. But we can't.
No.
We can't. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I drove to the house. Let myself in. Walked through the rooms in the dark. Everything looked different at night. Shadows in corners. The lake visible through the windows. Moonlight on the water. I ended up in Eleanor's bedroom. I'd only been in here a handful of times. It felt private. Sacred almost. The bed was made. The dresser was neat. There was a photo on the nightstand, Eleanor and my grandfather on their wedding day. She looked so young. So happy. I sat on the edge of the bed. I don't know if I can do this, I said out loud. To the empty room. To Eleanor's ghost, maybe. Tomorrow they're going to say terrible things about me.
About you.
About us. And I have to sit there and take it. Silence. I wish you were here. I wish you could tell me what to do. But she wasn't here.
She was gone.
And I was alone with a house and a choice and a fight I never asked for. I lay back on the bed, stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something shift. Not peace, exactly, but clarity. I was doing this for Eleanor, but I was also doing it for me. For every time I'd been overlooked, every time I'd been the afterthought, every time I'd made myself smaller so someone else could be more comfortable. This house was proof that I mattered, and I wasn't giving that up. Not for my father, not for Marcus, not for anyone. The hearing was held in a small courtroom. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches like church pews. My father sat on one side with his lawyer, a woman in her 50s, sharp suit, calculating eyes. Marcus and Diane sat behind them. I sat on the other side with Garrison. Maya was in the row behind me. She'd taken the day off work. The judge was a man in his 60s. Gray hair. Reading glasses. He looked tired already. This is a hearing to determine the validity of Eleanor Brennan's last will and testament, he said. Specifically, whether Mrs. Brennan was of sound mind when she executed the document, and whether there's evidence of undue influence. We'll hear testimony from both sides. Let's keep this civil. My father's lawyer went first. She called their psychiatrist, Dr. Raymond. He'd reviewed Eleanor's medical records, found evidence of cognitive decline, mood changes, memory issues. In my professional opinion, he said, Mrs. Brennan was experiencing early-stage dementia at the time she executed her will. This would have made her particularly vulnerable to manipulation. Garrison cross-examined him. Dr. Raymond, did you ever meet Mrs. Brennan?
No.
Did you ever speak with her? Evaluate her in person?
No.
My assessment is based on medical records. Records that show she was seen by her primary care physician 2 weeks before her death and deemed fully competent. Medical doctors aren't trained to recognize subtle cognitive decline. But psychiatrists who've never met the patient are? The judge cut in. Keep it professional, counselor. Garrison nodded.
Sat down.
Next, they called a neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. She'd lived 3 houses down from Eleanor for 20 years. I saw Caroline visiting all the time, she said. Always alone with Eleanor. Never with other family members. It seemed odd. Odd how? The lawyer asked. Like she was keeping Eleanor away from everyone else. Did you ever witness Caroline preventing anyone from visiting Mrs. Brennan? Well, no. But the frequency of the visits, it just seemed like she was inserting herself. Garrison stood up. Mrs. Patterson, did you ever visit Mrs. Brennan yourself? She hesitated. Occasionally. How occasionally? Maybe once or twice a year. So you weren't close with her? We were friendly, but not close. And yet you felt comfortable making assumptions about her relationship with Miss Brennan. I was just saying what I observed. Thank you. No further questions. They called 2 more witnesses. Both said similar things. Caroline visited too often. It seemed suspicious. Eleanor seemed different after the visits. All of it was circumstantial. All of it was guessing. But it was building a narrative. Then it was our turn. Garrison called Dr. Morrison first. Eleanor's doctor for 15 years. I saw Eleanor 2 weeks before she passed, he said. She was in excellent mental health. Sharp. Articulate. She knew exactly what she wanted and why. Did she discuss her will with you? She mentioned she'd updated it. She said she'd made some decisions that might upset her family, but she was confident they were the right decisions. Did she seem confused or uncertain? Not at all. She was one of the most clear-minded patients I've ever had. My father's lawyer tried to shake him, asked about Eleanor's medication, her age, whether dementia could hide beneath a competent exterior. Dr. Morrison shut it down. I've been a physician for 32 years, he said. I know the signs of cognitive decline. Eleanor Brennan had none of them. Next, Garrison called Aunt Judith. She walked to the stand slowly, used a cane, but when she sat down, her voice was strong. Eleanor called me 2 months before she died, she said. She told me she was leaving the house to Caroline. I asked her if she was sure. She said she'd never been more sure of anything. Did she explain why? She said Caroline was the only one who loved her for who she was, not what she had. She said David. Judith glanced at my father. She said David had spent 40 years proving he didn't want a mother. And she was tired of pretending it didn't hurt. The room was silent. She also said she knew there'd be a fight. She said David would claim she wasn't thinking straight, but she was thinking perfectly straight. She wanted Caroline to have the house because Caroline earned it. My father's lawyer tried to discredit her. You're Eleanor's sister. You're biased. Damn right I'm biased, Judith said. I'm biased toward the truth. Eleanor knew what she was doing, and you people need to respect that. The judge hid a smile. Then Garrison stood up. Your Honor, we have one final piece of evidence. A video statement recorded by Eleanor Brennan 2 weeks before her death. She made it specifically to address any challenges to her will. Objection, my father's lawyer said. This is hearsay. It's a dying declaration, Garrison countered. Made in anticipation of this exact situation. Perfectly admissible. The judge thought for a moment. I'll allow it. Garrison set up a laptop, connected it to a screen, and there she was. Eleanor, sitting in her living room, the lake visible through the window behind her, wearing her blue cardigan, looking directly at the camera. Hello, she said.
Her voice was steady, clear.
My name is Eleanor Brennan. Today is October 3rd. I'm making this recording because I know my family, specifically my stepson David, will challenge my will after I'm gone. I want to make my intentions absolutely clear. I couldn't breathe. I'm leaving my house to Caroline Brennan because she's the only member of this family who treated me like a person instead of an obligation. For 6 years, she visited me every Thursday. Not because she wanted something. Not because she felt guilty. But because she cared. Eleanor paused. Took a breath. David, if you're watching this, I want you to understand something. I loved you. I loved you from the moment your father brought you home. I tried to be the mother you needed, but you never let me. You kept me at arm's length for 40 years. You called me Eleanor, never Mom. You visited when it was convenient and ignored me when it wasn't. Her voice didn't waver. I'm not leaving you the house because I'm angry. I'm leaving Caroline the house because she deserves it. She earned it. Through kindness. Through consistency. Through actually caring. She looked directly at the camera. Marcus, you're a good man, but you're your father's son. You learned from him that family is something you maintain out of duty, not love. I hope you learn differently. I hope you figure out what Caroline already knows, that showing up matters. She smiled, sad and gentle. Caroline, if you're watching this, know that I thought about this decision for a long time. I know it's going to be hard. I know people will judge you. But I also know you're strong enough to handle it. The house is yours. Take care of it. Take care of yourself. And don't let anyone make you feel guilty for accepting what you earned. She sat back. That's all. This is my decision. It's final. Respect it. The video ended. The courtroom was silent. I looked at my father. He was staring at his hands. His face was pale. Marcus had his eyes closed. Diane was crying. The judge cleared his throat. Does either side have any additional testimony? No, Your Honor, Garrison said. My father's lawyer shook her head. Then we'll recess. I'll deliver my ruling tomorrow at 2 p.m. The gavel came down. I walked out of the courtroom in a daze. Maya hugged me. You okay? I don't know. That video, Jesus, Caroline. Eleanor was amazing.
Yeah.
Your dad looked like he'd been hit by a truck.
Yeah.
She studied my face. You're not happy.
I'm relieved.
I think. But I'm not happy. Because here's the thing no one tells you about winning. Sometimes it doesn't feel like winning. Sometimes it just feels like surviving. I was walking to my car when I heard footsteps behind me. Caroline. I turned. My father stood there, 10 feet away. He looked smaller than I remembered. I'm not supposed to talk to you, I said. I know. He took a step closer. I needed to say something. I waited. I didn't know, he said quietly, about the video, about what she said. She was telling the truth. I know. His voice cracked. I know she was. We stood there in the parking lot. The sun was setting. The air was cold. I thought I was protecting the family, he said. I thought I was doing the right thing. By suing me? By fighting for what I thought was fair.
He looked at me.
Really looked at me. But I was wrong. I was so focused on feeling rejected that I couldn't see what Eleanor was actually saying. Which was that I failed her for 40 years. And instead of accepting that, I blamed you.
I didn't know what to say.
I'm sorry, he said. For the lawsuit. For everything. You didn't deserve any of this.
No.
I didn't. If the judge rules in your favor tomorrow, when he rules in my favor. My father smiled. Small.
Sud.
When he rules in your favor, I won't appeal. I'll let it go. Thank you. He nodded. Started to walk away.
Stopped.
She was right, you know, in the video. About me calling her Eleanor. About keeping her at a distance. He looked back at me. I spent so long being angry at my real mother for leaving that I never let Eleanor be what she wanted to be. And now it's too late. Yeah, I said softly. It is. He got in his car and drove away. I stood there alone in the parking lot and realized something. I'd won, but nobody felt like a winner. The judge ruled in my favor at 2:07 p.m. the next day. It took him less than 5 minutes. Based on the testimony of Dr. Morrison, the video statement from Mrs. Brennan, and the lack of credible evidence supporting the claim of undue influence, I find that Eleanor Brennan was of sound mind when she executed her will. The document stands as written. Miss Caroline Brennan is the rightful inheritor of the property at 847 Lakewood Drive. Gavel down. Over. I sat there, numb, while Garrison shook my hand and Maya squeezed my shoulder and people filed out of the courtroom around us. My father didn't look at me. Neither did Marcus. They left quickly, quietly, like they were trying to disappear. Diane paused at the door, looked back. For a second, I thought she might say something. but she just shook her head and left. You did it, Maya said. Yeah. You won. I know. So, why do you look like someone died? I didn't have an answer for that. That night, I went to the house. My house, I reminded myself. Legally. Finally. Without question. I walked through the rooms slowly. Living room. Dining room. Kitchen. Up the stairs to the second floor. Eleanor's bedroom. The guest rooms. The bathroom with the clawfoot tub. It all felt the same. And completely different. I ended up on the back porch, looking out at the lake. The sun had set an hour ago. The water was dark. Stars reflected on the surface. This was mine. All of it. I should have felt triumphant. Vindicated. Something. Instead, I just felt tired. My phone buzzed. Text from Maya. How are you holding up? I stared at the message. Tried to figure out how to answer, honestly. I don't know. Still processing. Want company? Not tonight. But thank you.
Call me if you change your mind.
Or if you just need to talk. I'm here. I know. Love you. Love you too. Congratulations, homeowner. I set the phone down and pulled my jacket tighter. The night air was cold. Fall turning to winter. I thought about Eleanor. About Thursday afternoons. About the way she'd smile when I'd walk through the door, like my arrival was the best part of her day. I did it. I said out loud. To the lake. To the stars. To Eleanor's ghost, wherever it was. I kept the house. The wind picked up. Rustled through the trees. I hope that's what you wanted. The next few weeks were strange. People in town didn't know how to act around me. Some congratulated me. Others avoided eye contact. A few looked at me like I'd done something vaguely shameful, but legally permissible. The rumors faded, slowly, replaced by new gossip. New drama. I started going through Eleanor's things.
Clothes. Books.
Papers. Decades of accumulated life. In the back of her closet, I found a box of letters. Dozens of them. Letters from my father when he was younger. Letters from her friends. Letters from my grandfather before he died. At the bottom, there was a letter addressed to me. My hands shook as I opened it. Underscore, 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 underscore. Dear Caroline, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And if the fact that you're reading this means you're in my house, your house now, then you fought for it. Good. I know it wasn't easy. I know David fought you. Marcus too, probably. I know people talked. I know they made you doubt yourself. But you're there. You're reading this. Which means you held on. I want you to understand why I did this. Not just the house, the whole thing. The will. The conditions. The letter I made Mr. Garrison read. I did it because you deserved it, but also because I needed you to fight for something, to stand up and say, this is mine, and I'm not giving it up. Because that's a skill, Caroline. That's a muscle. And you'd spent too much of your life letting other people make you feel small. I know because I did the same thing. Your grandfather's first wife, David's mother, she left when David was 6. Just walked out one day. And when I married his father a year later, I thought I could fix it. I thought if I loved David enough, was patient enough, tried hard enough, he'd eventually let me in. He never did. And instead of accepting that, instead of saying I did my best and that's enough, I spent 40 years trying harder, making excuses for him, pretending his distance didn't hurt. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to spend your life making yourself smaller so other people can feel bigger. This house is yours because you earned it. But more than that, it's yours because I want you to have something solid, something real, something no one can take away from you just by making you feel guilty. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to wonder if you made the right choice. You're going to lie awake at 3 a.m. and think about all the ways this could go wrong. That's okay. That's normal. That's being human. But don't give up. Don't let them convince you that kindness is the same as weakness. Don't let them make you believe that showing up doesn't count. It counts. It all counts. I loved our Thursdays, sweetheart. Every single one. They were the best part of my week. Maybe the best part of my last 6 years. Thank you for that. And thank you for fighting for this house. For fighting for yourself. I'm proud of you. Love, Eleanor. I sat on the floor of Eleanor's closet and cried until I couldn't breathe. Then I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, and placed it in my pocket. I carried it with me for the next 3 months. Winter came. The house was cold. Expensive to heat. The furnace made strange noises. I called a repair guy. He quoted me $3,000 for replacement. I paid it. My savings account got smaller. I picked up extra shifts at work. Started freelancing on weekends. Sold some of Eleanor's furniture, pieces she'd specified in the will that I could sell if I needed to. It was hard. Some days, I thought about Marcus's offer. Sell the house. Split the money. Walk away with $300,000 and no stress. But then I'd sit in the kitchen with the blue teapot. Or I'd walk through the rooms and remember Eleanor's voice. Or I'd read her letter again. And I'd decide to stay. 3 months after the hearing, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Marcus. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. You were right. About a lot of things. I hope you're doing okay. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. Thank you. I appreciate that.
He didn't respond.
I didn't expect him to, but it was something. Spring came. I hired someone to help with the garden. Eleanor's garden, roses and hydrangeas and plants I didn't know the names of. The yard came back to life. I painted the guest bedroom. Pale yellow. Eleanor's favorite color. I invited Maya over for dinner. We sat on the porch and drank wine and watched the sunset over the lake. You look different, she said. Different how? Settled. Like you finally fit somewhere. Maybe I do. She smiled. Eleanor would be happy.
Yeah.
I think so. We sat in comfortable silence. The kind of silence you can only have with someone who's been there through the hard parts. Are you glad you fought for it? Maya asked.
I thought about that.
Really thought about it. Yes, I said finally. Not every day. Some days I'm exhausted and stressed and wondering what the hell I was thinking.
But yeah, I'm glad.
Good. I think this was never really about the house. Not entirely.
No.
It was about proving I could stand up for myself. That I could hold on to something even when everyone was telling me to let go. I looked at her. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. The sun dipped below the horizon. The sky turned orange and pink and purple. Thank you, I said quietly. For what? For believing me, when no one else did. Always, Maya said. That's what friends do. 6 months after the hearing, I was at the grocery store when I saw my father. He was in the produce section looking at tomatoes. He looked older, grayer. I could have walked away, pretended I didn't see him, but I didn't. He looked up.
Surprised.
Caroline, how are you?
I'm okay.
You? Good. Busy. Silence. Awkward and heavy. The house looks nice, he said finally. I drove by last week. Saw you painted the trim.
Yeah.
It needed it. Eleanor would have liked that. I hope so. More silence. I've been going to therapy, he said suddenly. Diane suggested it. After everything. I've been working through some things. That's good. I'm learning a lot. About myself. He stopped. Swallowed.
About Mom.
Eleanor, I mean. About how I treated her. I didn't correct him. Didn't point out that he'd called her Mom. I wish I'd done it differently, he said. I wish I'd let her in. I wish I'd visited more. I wish, his voice cracked. I wish I hadn't wasted 40 years being angry at someone who just wanted to love me. Yeah, I said softly. I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve that. But I wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. To understand. Okay. He nodded, started to push his cart away.
Stopped.
You were right, at the hearing, about me teaching Marcus that family is duty, not love. I did that, and I'm trying to fix it now, before it's too late.
It's not too late, I said.
Not with Marcus. Not if you actually try. And with you?
I thought about that.
About everything that had happened. The lawsuit, the rumors, the fight. I don't know, I said honestly. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't have to figure it all out right now. He smiled, small and sad. Maybe. Take care of yourself, Dad. You too, Caroline. I watched him walk away. Felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not reconciliation. But something gentler than anger. Something closer to peace. A year after Eleanor died, I sat on the porch with my morning coffee and watched the sunrise over the lake. The house was mine. Fully, completely, without question. The furnace worked. The garden was thriving. I'd repainted 3 rooms and fixed the porch railing and learned how to handle the property taxes without panicking. It was hard. It was expensive. Some days I was exhausted. But I loved it. I loved waking up here. I loved the way the light came through the kitchen windows in the afternoon. I loved the sound of the lake at night. I loved knowing that every choice I made about this place was mine. I'd started hosting a book club, once a month. Same group Eleanor used to host, plus a few new people. We'd sit in the living room with tea from the blue pot, always the blue pot, and talk about whatever we were reading. Last month, Mrs. Patterson came. The neighbor who'd testified against me. She'd apologized. Quietly. Awkwardly. I shouldn't have made assumptions, she'd said. I didn't know you. I didn't know Eleanor.
Not really.
I'd accepted the apology. Invited her to stay for tea. Because holding grudges was exhausting. And I was tired of being exhausted. I thought about Eleanor every day. Some days it was sharp, a sudden memory that would hit me while I was washing dishes or pulling weeds. The way she'd laugh. The way she'd tilt her head when she was thinking. Other days it was softer. A quiet presence. Like she was still here somehow. In the walls. In the rooms. In the garden she'd planted. I talked to her sometimes. Told her about the book club. About the repairs I'd made. About the fight with the property assessor's office. About my father's therapy. About Marcus sending a Christmas card last year. Just a card, nothing else, but still. I didn't know if she could hear me, but it helped anyway. I want to tell you something I've learned this past year. Fighting for yourself is hard. Staying when everyone wants you to leave is hard. Believing you deserve something when the whole world is telling you you don't. That's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But it's worth it. Not because you'll win every time. Not because people will eventually understand. Not because it'll be easy. But because the act of standing up, the act of saying this matters to me and I'm not letting go, that changes you. It changed me. I'm not the same person who walked into that lawyer's office a year ago. I'm not the person who sat in the second row and waited to be acknowledged. I'm the person who fought, who held on, who said no when it would have been easier to say yes. And that's worth more than any house. If you're in the middle of your own fight right now, whatever it is, I want you to know you're not alone. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to doubt yourself. It's okay to sit on the floor and cry and wonder if you're making a huge mistake. But don't give up.
Not yet.
Not when you're this close. Leave a comment if this story meant something to you. Tell me about your own fight. Tell me what you're holding on to. Tell me why it matters. Because it does matter. You matter. And whatever you're fighting for, you deserve it. I finished my coffee, stood up, walked inside my house, Eleanor's house, our house, and I got ready to face another day of figuring it all out. Because that's what you do when you choose yourself. You keep going. The lake was calm that morning. The sky was clear. The birds were singing. And for the first time in a year, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness, exactly. But something close. Something steady. Something mine. I stood in the kitchen, Eleanor's kitchen, and made tea from the blue pot. Then I sat at the table and opened my laptop. There was work to do. bills to pay, repairs to schedule. But for now, just for a moment, I let myself sit in the quiet, in the house that chose me, in the life I'd fought for, in the morning light that streamed through the windows and made everything look golden. "Thank you," I whispered. To Eleanor, to myself, to whatever combination of stubbornness and love had gotten me here. The house creaked, settled, the way old houses do. And I smiled, because I was home,